This is just plain old sick and disgusting. And this is happening right now. They're all heading to different parts of the country, thousands of them all coming, migrants entering into this country illegally. And instead, we are the ones who are treated unfairly and like criminals. Biden has done this before, and it's since his election back in 2020. Now, the Biden camp has instructed him to do it again in order to win the 2024 presidential election and become the 47th U.S. president after being reelected for a second consecutive term. So, urged by campaign managers and progressive groups who have been pitching the White House on the idea, Biden has been instructed to go big on Social Security as a way to beat Trump at the polls in November. Despite Biden's popularity or lack thereof in the polls taking a hit as of late, after Biden's standing hits new lows amid Israel-Hamas war, and young voters are breaking from Biden, helping give Trump a lead. And since President Joe Biden's approval rating has declined to the lowest level of his presidency, 40%, from strong majorities of all voters who disapprove of his handling of foreign policy and the Israel-Hamas war, the Biden team must now find a way to claw their way back to fight for the win. And in order to do so, these progressive groups are urging President Joe Biden to expand Social Security as a strategy to strengthen his position against Donald Trump in the 2024 election. This suggestion follows a significant moment during Biden's State of the Union address, where he negotiated with Republicans to remove entitlement cuts from the debt ceiling discussions, showcasing his negotiating skills and commitment to Social Security safety nets. The progressives' proposal to Biden includes increasing Social Security benefits, a move they believe would be popular with voters, particularly seniors, and would further distinguish Democrats from Republicans. Biden had previously supported Social Security expansion during the 2020 Democratic primary, suggesting increased benefits for low-income retirees and funding it through higher taxes on those earning over $400,000 a year. However, this idea was put aside due to narrow congressional majorities. Now, the polls indicate a close trust gap between Biden and Trump regarding Social Security, with only a slight advantage for Biden. The Biden campaign, while open to the idea of benefit expansions, has not yet committed to it. They plan to focus on concrete achievements rather than aspirational ideas like Social Security expansion. However, there's skepticism among some in Biden's circle about introducing a new policy, fearing it might confuse voters, and they also recognize the need to resolve policy specifics, such as which retirees would benefit and how to finance the expansion. Progressive groups suggest taxing the wealthy to fund these benefits, viewing it as a potent electoral issue for Democrats. Meanwhile, the political implications of President Joe Biden's stance on the conflict between Israel and Hamas, particularly regarding his refusal to call for a full ceasefire in Gaza, continues to drag his name in the mud, with protesters seen around the country demanding for him to be held accountable for the war crimes that he has committed and the casualties caused by his inaction and continuous aid and support for the war in Gaza. And it just further underscores the complexity of the Israel-Hamas conflict's impact on American politics and the potential consequences of Biden's foreign policy decisions on his domestic support and international relations, all of which impact you and I each and every single day. For example, the U.S. Border Patrol is experiencing a significant surge in migrants at the southern border, leading to changes in their operational strategies. These key points include virtual processing of migrants, which, due to the high influx of migrants, Border Patrol agents from northern and coastal sectors are being asked to assist in the virtual processing of migrants. And this involves agents interacting with the migrants via video calls. Record high migrant custody numbers as the U.S. Border Patrol currently has over 19,100 migrants in custody. And this high number has prompted a call for increased virtual processing support from other sectors. Resource redirection and operational changes to manage the situation. Significant resources and personnel have been redirected to Texas, Arizona, and California. The Customs and Border Protection, CBP, has also announced the temporary suspension and reduction of vehicle processing at certain ports of entry in Texas and Arizona. These unprecedented illegal crossings in Arizona, with the Tucson sector in Arizona reported 15,300 illegal crossings in 1 week, the highest weekly total ever recorded. Social media activity has been paused as the Tucson sector's chief patrol agent announced the temporary suspension of social media activity to focus all available personnel on the situation. Historical highs in migrant encounters as the southern border experienced its highest number of migrant encounters for October, with over 240,000 people encountered. This number surpasses the previous year's figures and is a notable increase from the 71,929 encounters in October of 2020. Comparison with previous months and fiscal year totals, while the October numbers are a decrease from the record high in September, the fiscal year 2023 has already seen a record 2.4 million encounters overall. And these developments indicate a significant challenge for the U.S. Border Patrol in managing the unprecedented surge of migrants at the southern border, necessitating the adoption of new strategies like virtual processing and the reallocation of resources and personnel. Meanwhile, there are hundreds of migrants living in the San Diego airport as California battles an unimaginable homeless crisis, and the mayor of El Cajon or El Cajon, not really sure, has called out Governor Gavin Newsom and President Joe Biden's admin for doing nothing as migrants flood communities and neighborhoods. They are pouring in and can be seen riding on top of BNSF freight trains from Mexico as it heads to U.S. southern borders, a surprising difference from in the past when other trains in Mexico have been filled or have been seen being filled with migrants headed towards the United States southern border. So essentially now, I guess that there are just so many more that they have run out of room on the inside for them inside these trains, and now they have to resort to riding on the outside. Go figure. And once the coast is clear, they will continue to disperse throughout the country. And can you guess where they're going to be headed next? Right. So New York City's Mayor Eric Adams is addressing the city's escalating migrant crisis, highlighting the challenges and implications for the city and its residents. Key points from his recent statements and actions include the migrant crisis in New York City, as the city is grappling with a significant influx of migrants, with over 140,000 having arrived since last year and thousands more arriving weekly. Inevitability of migrants sleeping on the streets. Adams warned that migrants have the right to sleep on the streets and that the city cannot prevent this, acknowledging the visible signs of the crisis. Budget cuts due to the migrant crisis, as the city has made substantial budget cuts across various departments, including the police and education, to manage the spiraling costs of the migrant crisis, and the NYPD will freeze hiring, and there will be reductions in sanitation services and the universal pre-kindergarten program. More financial strain on the city. New York City has already spent $1.45 billion in fiscal 2023 on the migrant crisis, with nearly $11 billion expected to be spent in the next 2 years. Now, Adams' stance on federal government involvement, and Adams has been vocal about the lack of support from the federal government, stating that Washington, D.C. has abandoned the city and should bear some of the costs of this national problem. I don't think he's actually spoken to Biden in at least a year. Now, the federal government's response, or the Biden administration, has taken steps like expediting work permits and allocating funding to cities like New York And the White House has requested an additional $14 billion for border operations, including grants for local governments and nonprofits. Public reaction in Adams' response, whereas the budget cuts have drawn criticism, particularly from the city's teachers and police unions, Adams has directed their frustrations towards the federal government, emphasizing that the crisis is a national issue requiring federal intervention. But needless to say, this situation highlights the complex challenges faced by sanctuary cities like New York, balancing the need to support incoming migrants with the financial and logistical strains on the city resources and services. While New York Governor Kathy Hochul continues to place more of the blame and the burden on the city's residents and businesses based on her latest. And the governor of New York, Kathy Hochul, is facing criticism for vetoing a bill that aimed to establish a retail crime task force in the state. And this decision comes amid significant losses reported by retailers due to shoplifting. So to put things into perspective, New York retailers lost $4.4 billion due to an organized shoplifting ring in 2022 alone. The numbers will be higher by the time this year draws to a close. And who knows what it'll be this time next year. But these retailers across New York State are facing a severe challenge with organized shoplifting rings leading to significant financial losses and concerns over the sustainability of businesses that include massive financial loss. Retailers in New York reported a loss of $4.4 billion in 2022 due to retail theft. The increase in shoplifting incidents and law enforcement from various New York cities, including New York City, Albany, and Syracuse, have reported significant increases in retail theft incidents. The impacts on small businesses are great. The theft epidemic is particularly affecting small businesses, with some reporting substantial annual losses and others forced to close due to repeated thefts. Danger to the store employees. Convenience store employees face threats and violence with incidents of extreme risk and damage during thefts. The arrest statistics, whereas Albany police have made significantly more arrests for larceny and motor vehicle theft compared to the 5-year average. Challenges in Buffalo include retailers in Buffalo are experiencing frequent thefts, leading to calls for increased police patrols and concerns about potential store closures, with significant increases in New York City, NYC, where New York City saw a 64% rise in retail theft and retail theft incidents over 4 years, with a small group of repeat offenders responsible for a significant portion of these crimes. And at the end of the day, folks, the organized shoplifting rings in New York are creating a pressing issue for retailers, affecting business viability, consumer costs, and safety. And the veto handed down by Hochul of the proposed task force bill adds to the complexity of finding effective solutions to this growing problem. Now, I would also like to mention how organized retail crime is not just a local issue, but it's a national concern too, with stores across the U.S. losing a combined $112 billion in sales in 2023. And major retailers like Walmart, Target, the Home Depot, and many others, especially grocery stores, are reevaluating their self-checkout options due to their potential contribution to shoplifting and profit loss. And while also setting a precedent, Governor Hochul's veto of the Retail Crime Task Force bill has sparked a debate about the best strategies to combat the rising tide of retail theft, which is affecting not only New York, but also retailers nationwide. Hey, check out the Patreon for more and exclusives that we can't publish here. I dropped a link for you down in the description down below. You can sign up for free, and we definitely appreciate your support. Smack the like button and subscribe, and I'll be right back with more late breaking news and all the latest that you need to know and all that matters to you the most.